Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of the 2009 Doctor Who Autumn Special, The Waters of Mars. Not placed anywhere specifically, it was just released in November, although mind you, it was released on the 15th of November 2009. The first time the show was broadcast on a Sunday, just over a decade before Series 11 moved from Saturdays to Sundays. And also, actually, I think this story should have been broadcast on Saturday 21st, Sunday 22nd of November, as it's actually set on the 21st of November. So they were a week early. But then again, I guess they wanted to save that weekend for Dreamland on the red button, 21st to 26th November. Sorry, my right ear's a bit closed up. There we go. Okay, so The Waters of Mars. The plot of this story is the Doctor lands on Mars, and there's also a human colony on Mars, the first human colony to leave Earth. However, following, I think it's a 40 filter, so they either can't replace it or they get a new replacement. But this water somehow is able to possess the crew and turn them into water carrier creatures, and so this leads to the crew attempting to evacuate. However, the Doctor is aware that this is a fixed point in time, and at some point the Captain Adelaide Brooke, who is going to be the guest companion for this story, played by Lindsay Duncan, is going to activate the detonation sequence to destroy Bowie Base 1 in order to save Earth, but from an unknown threat, which turns out to be the alien water. And the Doctor just keeps wanting to go because he can't get involved. Eventually, towards the end, however, he decides otherwise and comes back to save everyone, believing that as he's the last of the Time Lords, he now controls time. And that's essentially the plot of The Waters of Mars. This is a fantastic story. This story is absolutely amazing. Once again, possibly the last great 10th Doctor story. Then again, I do like The End of Time. But I'll tell you what I think about that after I rewatch that later and then review it tomorrow. Woo! Well, I'm going to film the review tomorrow. You'll get it in 2 days after Dreamland. But The Waters of Mars is a cracking story, as we see the Doctor unable to save them to start with. The crew members when he gets to the base. There's not a huge number of crew members. How many is it? There's Captain Adelaide Brooke. There's what's his name? The guy. Yeah, that's a thing. Ed. That's it. She keeps having these kind of remarks at him. Just seem like unfair on the guy. He's doing his job. Yeah, sometimes he might abandon his post or something, but other times he's actually being helpful. It's implied these two have some sort of relationship. However, Adelaide still has some snarks at him a few times in some places just when she can, which is a bit unfair on him. He's actually a nice guy. There's Tarek, who's the Doctor, and he's aided by Nurse Yuri. We've got Stephanie and Mia and Roman. That's 7. Yeah, there's 9 people. There's also Maggie and Andy. I don't know if they were intending to only have a 9-person colony. I think there's 9 of them. There could be 10. No, there's 9 of them. Plus Gadgets, the robot. Okay, I suppose he makes number 10. The 10th person. But, yeah, or the Doctor. But yeah, there's only a few characters in this one. I mean, almost as many as Orphan 55, but unlike that story, this one doesn't feel overstuffed with characters. Mainly because Andy Stone and Maggie get turned into water creatures early on, then Tarek follows, and most of our attention is actually focused on Adelaide. But we still got enough time to like the other characters and enjoy them and get to care about them throughout the story, and it's what made some scenes a bit heart-wrenching and upsetting, because we were getting to like some of these characters, so that when they die, whether that's being possessed by the water or, in Ed's case, he gets Zach caught by the water and then he has to blow up the ship to prevent them from returning to Earth. That's the pretty heavy moments, pretty emotional. Ooh, it's another heavy story. There's also some really great character growth with Adelaide Brooke, as well as also some great backstory where the events of the Stolen Earth Journey's End have pretty much shaped her life. Speaking of that story, we get a cameo from a Dalek to enforce the character backstory as well. So this is the first Dalek cameo of the new series, but don't worry, we'll see plenty more. Also, there's a few references to the Ice Warriors. It would have been cool to have the Ice Warriors back, but oh well, we'll have to wait until Cold War for that. Never mind, but they seem to have frozen something under some ice in their wisdom and strength, perhaps. We don't actually see what it is. Like Midnight, we don't actually know what this creature is. It's just possessing everyone through water. Though this is not the same story as Midnight. Not really, because in Midnight it was one thing that was copying everybody. Whilst this time round, it's one thing making people turn into these possessed watery creatures, and it's not just one at a time. It can wait to surface in some people, but in other people, not so much. As well as the characters being really great, the actors also do a really great job, especially Lindsay Duncan as Adelaide. And I think that's why the strength of this story came with the characters and the situation they're in. Initially, I wasn't so when I originally saw this story. Not necessarily the first time around, but future viewings. I wasn't certain whether this whole fixed point in time thing quite worked with the story because it was in the future. So why should we care? But on this time round, actually having it in the future helped with us feeling more for the characters as people, as opposed to individual people, rather than people affected in a historical point in time like Pompeii. And we'd have to create fictional characters from just a wide range of people, whilst here we can focus on original characters instead of anyone specific, and all having to create original characters from a group of people. Also, it's useful to have a future fixed point in time story than a past one for the whole Time Lord Victorious thing at the end. So me thinking that I shouldn't really care about it because it's in the future, just gone. Yeah, these rewatches for the reviews seem to be good timing, aren't they? Some of these ones. But yeah, anyway, the characters and the cast are great. Bowie Base 1 looks really cool in the sets and the visuals. Gadget's really fun as well. He's really cool. I love the bit where the Doctor sonics him to go faster in the tunnel, and then later at the end to take him to the TARDIS. We'll get to the TARDIS. This is all really great. The setup's really great. Cinematography all brilliant. Editing is all brilliant, and no stupid panny whizzy shots. We got less of that since second half of Series 4. I think one bit in turn left, and that was about it. But I'm not going to complain about that one too much. So since mid Series 4, we've not had much of it, if at all. So I'm thankful for that. And this is a beautiful looking story. Graham Harper does another fantastic job, and I think this is his last Doctor Who story he directed, which is a shame. We should bring him back. But he does a fantastic job in his final outing. And also, this is the first story to be written by Phil Ford to appear on screen. He also writes Dreamland, which is up next, and also Into the Dalek in a co-write with Stephen Moffat, and he co-writes this story with Russell. I think it's all handled really well, but the strongest bit about this story is the timeless Victorious with the 10th Doctor. First of all, the fact that he just wants to leave, like with Pfizer Pompeii, except this time he really shouldn't get involved. But elements of the story just keep forcing him to be involved, whether that's him not being allowed to leave, or whether his curiosity getting the better of him. He eventually does leave, but then when he realizes he is the last of the Time Lords, he thinks he can control time. He then goes back to do the Time Lord Victorious, much to the chagrin of Adelaide, as after the Doctor has pretty much told her everything, she feels like he's changing history now. So activates Action 5 anyway. So the Doctor gets them out through the TARDIS after sending Gadget to get it. And then they go back to Earth. Of course, Adelaide gives him a telling off, but he's not listening. Not really. Yeah, I think this is the point of the series where the Doctor's now come to his most powerful, where he thinks he can control time, he thinks he can beat it, and he thinks he's stronger and got more power over it. Alas, however, Adelaide commits suicide in order to put things back on track, and the Doctor realizes he's gone too far, signaling his potential death in his final story, The End of Time. Also, Ood Sigma gets a cameo. Probably that message he was trying to send to the Doctor they mentioned in the next story. Perhaps, I think, maybe. Also, I think I thought it was the Song of Captivity, but I think it's a track called Veil that plays in some scenes, including the end, which will tie into Veil Daysum at the End of Time Part 2. But we'll get to that one shortly. But as for The Waters of Mars, this is a fantastic adventure, fantastic sci-fi thrill ride with some really great stuff going for it, and a really strong story with the dreaded threat of what's going to happen, and the Doctor just wanting to leave but unable to start with, and then later on deciding to come back and save whoever he can. He's able to save Yuri and Mia as well, and they go off to survive. They survive. They go off. The rest of the crew, however, turn into the water monsters, apart from Ed, who blows himself up before that happens. And Gadget loses his signal, so he technically dies after returning to Earth, which is a shame. But anyway, this story has some great characters, great cinematography and editing, great effects, great character-driven adventure, and great performances. This is probably David Tennant's best performance. I know I said that for Human Nature, Family Blood, and for Science Library in the Library, Forest of the Dead, but I honestly think Waters of Mars was peak David Tennant performance, especially at the end. So The Waters of Mars is a brilliant, brilliant story. I shall be giving it a 10 out of 10. Yeah, just a thrill of a ride story, a really, really great story, and just an emotional roller coaster ride too, and a great character piece, especially for Adeline Brooke, as well as also for the Doctor himself. And the water creatures, they are actually a pretty cool monster. It's not a lazy day down at the monster design office this time round. Having the water come out of them, especially from the mouth, that is really cool. That's pretty clever how they did that, and these are pretty unique monsters. And like I said, with Light with Midnight, it's cool that we don't see what this creature was underneath the ice. I think there was some rumors that it could be a big fish or something, but we never actually saw it, so we don't actually know. But hey, it's probably been destroyed now with the nuclear explosion inside the base, along with the water creatures. And they're still pretty interesting villains in their own right, and yeah, pretty intimidating and pretty scary, and a pretty scary thought that water is the enemy this time around. Probably the second most important things humans need after oxygen. Don't worry, we're going to get to a story where not necessarily oxygen tries to kill humans, but where lack of oxygen tries to kill humans. We'll get to a story like that in Series 10. Hold on to your horses. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Next time, we'll be taking a look at the 2009 animated special, Dreamland, and then we'll be on to the last two David Tennant specials, the 2009 Christmas and 2010 New Year specials, The End of Time Parts 1 and 2, and we'll be doing it as a full story review, like as a normal two-parter. It will be a single review. So, next time is Dreamland, and then after that, the 10th Doctor's final story, The End of Time. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of the 2009... but somehow, for one reason or another... But this water now is now affecting some of the crew members and is starting to possess them, and it appears... But there's this war... So And she keeps. Yeah, I don't know why, but Adelaine has. And speaking of that story, we get to see a Dalek and and they're all really. I just. But on this time round, we care because of the characters. It also helps that this story. It also helps having a future fixed point in time story for the timeless victorious stuff at the end. So I'm actually also. So now I have no problem. Bloody phlegm. So my and yeah that one was a brilliant. So that's it from. I'll just grab a drink.